I'm sure that at some point in your life, maybe in the past or maybe even now, you have told yourself the following: it's not their business, it's my choice, it's my life, I can do whatever I want. Now, in itself, there's nothing wrong with that statement. However, us being who we are, we do tend to use that kind of statement as a justification to do things that we know actually might end up hurting someone, or do things in a way that has consequences that we could actually avoid if we tried a little bit harder. So, let me give you an example. Many years ago, I decided to go to the UK, and originally the plan was to spend a year or two there on a working holiday visa. So working little odd jobs to pay my way to do traveling and all kinds of things. Now, when I was making plans to do this, I would tell myself, now this was in relation to, because in doing this, I was leaving behind a dog and a whole lot of cats. And I kept telling myself that they would be fine, that someone else would just feed them, they'll be okay until I get back, everything will be fine. And a lot of times, I actually didn't even think about it at all. It's like I consciously, deliberately tried to not think about it. So I'd try and distract myself from thinking about the reality of what it would be like for me to not be there. The reality of what it would mean for someone else to take care of my animals. I completely didn't want to face that. And after a series of events, I ended up changing my plans and only going for 2 weeks and seeing the city of London and whatnot, and then coming back. And it was just at that stage when I was coming back, and maybe also while I was in the UK, that I really acknowledged that it was a big deal for me to be gone. It was a big deal for my animals. It was a big deal for me. It was a big deal for whoever was left with looking after this huge amount of animals. And when I got home, and the closer I got to home, the more excited I got about just being there with them. So there were all these different aspects that I hadn't considered, that I actually deliberately refused to consider until the reality really hit me full on. And I know that's a little bit of maybe an example that not everyone will be able to relate to, but some other examples that I haven't experienced but that might give you some better context is like making a life-changing decision that affects different people in your life. This could be something like ending a relationship, or starting a new relationship, or moving someplace new, or getting a different job, or deciding to quit your job and go traveling, things like that. A lot of the time, we tell ourselves that our choices are our own, and it's no one else's business, and we can just focus on doing what we want, live the life that we want, and other people will eventually just have to deal with it. If they have issues with it, that's their problem, deal with it. But at the end of the day, we are partially responsible for the people and animals and situations of our lives. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't make these choices. I'm not saying don't change things that you need to change. Don't make choices that are best for you. But what I am saying is that we can take a little bit more time and make a little bit more effort to consider the people who will be affected, the animals who will be affected. Because it's never really as simple as it's my choice and it's my business and it's no one else's business and no one else is involved, because we live in a very dynamic, interconnected kind of society and world where our choices do affect the people and things around us. So we do need to take that into consideration when we are making choices, especially choices that directly influence and have an impact on other people. So that practice of consideration means practically that we take a moment to consider how our choice realistically affects other people and other things. So that means looking at what are the real effects that it can have in the physical. So for example, let's say we want to quit our job and go traveling. How is that going to affect our family members who are close to us, our friends who are close to us, our work, our colleagues, the actual continuation of the business? And then once we can see all of the things that it'll affect in the physical, in terms of our presence no longer being there, then we can make plans for, okay, how can I support those people and those situations and those things to have that change happen as smoothly and as easily as possible, so that I can go and do the things that I'd like to do, and make sure that I'm supporting those people I'm leaving behind as best as I am able. I'm not just leaving them in the lurch. Once we've considered those physical and practical changes, then we also need to consider those emotional changes of how is our choice going to emotionally affect the people in our lives. Do we have a partner that we need to discuss our position with? Because if you're in a serious relationship, your life-changing decisions have a very direct and very real effect on your partner. So that is important to discuss things with them, to involve them and include them in your decision-making process, and to consider what they have to say. Consider their position, their opinions, how they feel about it, and make sure that you get to a point of both of you being clear, both of you being at least satisfied with your decision. And sometimes that aspect of considering another person or people on that emotional level can be quite challenging, because obviously we don't really know how other people feel and think and what they might react to, what challenges they might face. Maybe there's something that happened in their childhood where your choice might trigger that particular memory within them, and you thinking that no, this is just a small thing, but for them it ends up being something very, very big, very having a large impact on them emotionally. So it's important for us as much as possible to place ourselves in the shoes of others, to really let go of how we see the world and how we deal with changes and how we experience our emotions, and try our best to consider how that one person in their individual life might experience this. And then, yes, we can make an effort to support those people in our lives who are going to be affected in our decision. Make sure that we're not burning any bridges. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for now. So if you have any questions or would like me to expand on anything, then please send me a direct message or leave a comment. Otherwise, if you'd like to support me, you can do so on Patreon. And that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.